freelance journalist, and I shall not reveal my identity at this stage, but I am a soldier in an army that is very much underrated, and I've just played you some of our themes there. And I've fallen in love with one of my bosses in that army, and her name I will keep a secret for the moment, yeah, because I'm totally infatuated by the woman. Let me show you a little bit of her beauty. I'm led to believe that she's courting a chap called Dorian Gray, and I'm very distressed about that, and I intend to win her troth in the course of time. I'm not sure what a troth is. She's lovely. And I'll play you some theme music, because I'm quite distressed that they've fallen from grace as a family, and that they do not appear at all on any of those rich list issues that a colleague of mine has been looking at recently. Quite a surprise. Yeah, as an army member and a senior insightful person into those armies and their roles across the world, it's quite stunning that they have fallen from grace a little bit. And that Dorian Gray thing is ever so dangerous. Right then, so let me give you a clue about how I'm likely to fit into them. Okay? And it can be quite scary if it takes you unawares. Oh. So I will not reveal the name of the family at this early stage, but let me show you the beauty of this woman, and I want her heart and her soul. Yeah. She has a finely tuned sense of judgment on who the political figureheads are in our country, and I'm hoping that that will catch her eye sometime. Oh, do not look at the text, please.
He was born in 1913 in the kind of real fantasy-secular kind of world of Europe.
Before Dorian got his hands on her, she was even more voluptuous. Okay, even more voluptuous.
About its height, so...
Oh, sorry. She's stammering a bit, like the people that they pay.
When she grew up, for example...
In London or Paris?
She was born in London, and she was so cosseted that she had a maid slept at the end of her bed and another maid slept at the other end of her bed. So she lived in this incredible kind of encrusted cage, if you like.
Like a cocoon.
A cocoon, literally a cocoon, you know, and she had to do nothing. She wasn't educated. All she had to do was get married. That was the only thing that was expected of her. And that went very well. She met a handsome baron, they got married, they started to have children, and one day she went to visit a friend, and the friend said, "Have you heard of Thelonious Monk?" She said, "No." He said, "Listen to this record." And she said, "I've got to catch a plane." "I can't." Listen to the record. The record was round midnight. He put the needle on the record. It went round and round and round, and it was like a vinyl version of a spell. And she never went home. Never got on the plane.
And what happened between her and Thelonious Monk?
Well, they ended up living together. The last 10 years of his life, they lived
like
in
that.
Weehawken, so not far from here.
Stop talking like that.
If you've made that character up.
Yeah, everyone's saying rubbish.
Someone from the Rothschild family.
Yeah.
Here's one piece of music by Thelonious Monk.
Yeah.
In a band it was all plans.
Everything. And she literally, she
Not
abandoned
knowing
her.
whether he would accept her in any way. Not knowing
Do
whether
you know what? Even odder, she didn't then meet him for 4 years because he was, at the time, he'd been busted for heroin.
Yeah.
And so he was locked up, so she didn't even see him.
But she waited for him.
She waited for him.
Isn't it lovely? And I've got some glass slippers prepared. Okay, right then, let me explain to you why they cannot make it onto the rich list. Okay? Right then, so, bye-bye YouTube. And just to show you the tabs I'm going to show you, let's march on for a little bit, because these are one of the rivals companies. Yeah, they started working on their side. So I'm a senior officer, but you must not tell the tax man. Okay? And I get all lit up by the women and the people that are in that bloodline. Yeah? They're all amazingly exciting when you look deeply into them. And I'd love to be in that bedchamber. Okay, so there's the list, and it takes a little bit of explaining, because that is the Salvation Army band that you just heard marching. Okay, and they they are part of the fundraising capacity for my suitor there. Okay, did not know that till this morning. That's one of the less shocking aspects. So there's a thing on our list of families called the Rothschilds, yeah, and they are nowhere to be seen on the rich list either. And there's a list of directors, and that's the list of directors in New Zealand for the Rothschilds. Just one family name that I gave. Quite a lot of hits I got, and all of the things that I've exposed in the last couple of days as I prepare to launch my suit. Yeah, some of the names are unpronounceable. Yeah, and I might just opt for John Smith or John Schmidt in my second married name. Okay, because these people have the right to change their names as well. That one's the former head of the Federal Bank in America, and I've got his list of directors too. Okay, And a lot of this is historic, because the genealogy in these families is very important. If you're going to make a legitimate case to be a suitor for them, you've got to suss out what your consanguinity index is. And I reckon that I could score big time on that front with my rivals in these bloodlines. Okay, and we've got Institute of Pacific Railroads, Institute of and we've got links to BT in New Zealand as well, which are quite shocking, because the things called Ponzi schemes, which as a freelance journalist I don't really understand, but I have a friend who can get me a hairdresser yeah, and can tart me up a little bit so that I can chase that woman around, yeah, and we can gad about a bit. Yeah, okay. So let me get on with the story, and let's just go straight to the first tab. And it takes in academics that you've heard of recently, and they are in charge of the dismemberment of the EU, and they were in charge of the formation of the EU yeah, all those years ago, and it's now run as a secret society, the European Reform Movement. Every one of their Wikipedia pages is published only in French. And many of my rivals in these courteous gestures that I'm making are of the French nature, and that's very dangerous, because they have people like Lancelot that are legends in courting all of these women and winning their favour. Okay, so that's Lord Kerr of Kinlochart, but when you look for him on Wikipedia as a European reformer, yeah, that's the dismemberment of the whole of Europe, but the people that run the whole of the world, yeah, and I cannot reveal their identity at this early stage until I see whether I'm going to fit into their bloodline. Okay, and I've learned that the people from the other guy was friends of a person called Brett in the Tring region, where the Rothschild family run the scam about the goldfish, yeah, and that's the penis for the two members of the raping chambers for Queen Victoria that sired all of Queen Victoria's children that were spread all across Europe as lovers, yeah, with the same attributes as the woman that you saw me exposing, for her beauty and the depth of her mind, yeah, and her heart. She's much more favourable than Shania Twain or Celine Dion now, because of the things that I've learned recently. Okay, so let's get on to the love story and the need for those armies, yeah, in the God-fearing sector, and that's the religious sector, and that's the Tays at the top, that's the head of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Comes into the story quite early. Right then, so we're loading up the Rothschild tab now. If any of you are not classical scholars like me, you may not understand the Dorian Gray joke. That's premature aging. And all the people that I talk about now have got that, and they're beginning to start to relent, because what they're doing now, and it's led by that woman that was on the front page of the papers yesterday, I forget what her name is, but she's like the woman who is plays the Queen all of the time, Helen Mirren. All of them are now beginning to talk constructively to all of the people with premature aging, like Terry Wogan and all his friends. Yeah, all of them are now beginning to talk about giving us free TV licenses when we get to be pensioners like them. Okay? I forget the name of the woman that was in all those military films in the West Country. She was in the papers yesterday, and she's been refused an Oscar on the grounds of ageism, I think, or it could be sexism. Okay, and she's got that hint of a, you know, a love for the man that is that is oh, it's taken ages to scan. Can you see the themes that we're going to cover? Isn't it exciting? Okay, so let me tell you a story. As usual, a lot of it takes us back to horses. Okay, so this is the Rothschild bloodline. Okay, and that I think is the stunning the cunning stunt joke that I'm led to believe that the newspapers use all of the time if they've got something embarrassing to release which they need to cover up. But let me tell you the story of these families. Two neighbours, horse farmers, came together one day to talk business. That's probably in the Tring region. The first farmer sold his horse to the second for $250,000, then bought it back for about $20 more. He could now advertise his horse, actually worth $20, as a horse that he had paid over $250,000 for. We can laugh over such schemes, and perhaps we should laugh at ourselves for having been fooled. For if there is one area in life that exceeds the religious in deception, yeah, that's the religious in deception, and touches all of us, it is the financial. What else can we do about it except laugh? Yeah, I'm getting really serious about this woman. And I want her to know that I respect her deeply, and all of them have the capacity in the current generation for greatness in world history. And I think she understands it. And the monk person that she refers to, that could be the person that handles our wedding, yeah, because that's the Church of England, yeah, he comes into the story further down. Okay, so Lord Byron describes the archetype of our two farmers in 1823, who keeps the world both old and new in pain or pleasure, who makes politics run glibber all, the shade of Bonaparte's noble daring. I'm kind of the same height as Bonaparte, yeah, and that's why I'm hoping that I'm going to impress this woman. Jew Rothschild and his fellow Christian bearing. You'll learn about some other neighbour horse traders in this chapter too. Okay, let's go down and see what the pictures tell us, and we'll go to the tabs if it is timely to do that. I don't think I'll get the whole story told, and tomorrow I'm in court. Although I'm feeling a bit sick because the court proceedings are entirely about my capacity to swear to a religious oath. Yeah, and when you look at the religious basis for the swearing of your loyalty to disloyal wives, then it becomes quite sickening, really. Yeah, Justin Welby and HRH the Queen, yeah, all of those oaths that everybody makes to the false messiahs. Okay, and my former wife was not even asked to swear because she's a friend of the people that run all the wars, and she's in intel that are run by the people in this movie. Okay, so the Shadow of the Great Man quotes a letter sent from Davidson. You might have heard of Davidson if you listen to Gordon Bowden and all of the beheading videos about Mary Queen of Scots and her courtiers. Yeah, on June 24th, to Nathan Rothschild. As long as a house is like yours, and as long as you work together with your brothers, not a house in the world will be able to compete with you, to cause you harm or to take advantage of you, for together you can undertake and perform more than any house in the world. The closeness of the Rothschild brothers is seen in a letter from Salmon Rothschild to his brother Nathan on February the 28th, 1815, when ABBA starts singing that song. Yet that Terry Wogan gets all excited about. Okay, I keep forgetting the name of the woman who's got that ageist accusation or the racist accusation, and she did not win the Oscar in Zionist Hollywood. We are like the mechanism of a watch. Each part is essential. Okay, Mayor Amschel, so 18 marriages made by Mayor Amschel Rothschild's grandchildren, 16 were contracted between first cousins. Yeah, that's why I'm hoping to fulfill the Fitz role and improve Hannah's consanguinity index. I don't know if she's got children. Okay, visiting the nation, the Rothschilds built in 1974, in the summer after the Yom Kippur War. This author, who's not me, honestly, Gov, and got the chance to personally visit many of the buildings, like the Knesset that the Rothschilds' money has built. The Knesset is the Israeli equivalent to our Congress's Capitol building. Congress. So that means that the author is an American, and that shines through as they begin to explain the central banking issues, because this man's an idiot, because he thinks that America owns all of the banks in the world. Okay, one of the Rothschilds in his will left money for ongoing building projects in Israel, and the Rothschilds were honoured with a street named after them in Jerusalem. Okay, there's the Knesset, there's the lights will guide you home for Coldplay joke, yeah, and that is the Christmas Day, or that is the Yom Kippur festival, yeah, that is the Christmas joke about everybody having to do a massive diaspora every Christmas or every Yom Kippur, so that they go back home and they spend money in Marks and Spencer's and the other Zionist retailers that we told you about on the rich list. Yeah, this lot have not made it to the rich list. Either that or their auditors have written them out of it. Okay? The people of Germany and Turkey have been very close. I can recall meeting Turkish, let me get rid of the side screen a little bit. I think I'm going to have to get from those lumberjacks a corset. Please do not look closely at my waistline as things stand. And if you see that lovely woman, Hannah, do not tell her that I'm not in condition to be her suitor at this stage, okay? Right, so let's take the tabs in a wee bit so I can see the comments that I've made, or that other guy's made, okay? Auf Wiedersehen, yeah, these are the Erics. Thank you to Eric, who's the friend of the hairdresser, for coming to talk to me all the time. Okay, the people of Germany and Turkey have been very close. I can recall meeting Turkish Gastarbeiters, guest workers in Germany. So that's the Auf Wiedersehen jokes about all of them then going to Argentina, yeah, and running races through the minefields as profiteers from Newcastle. Okay, the reader will remember that Turkey fought on Germany's side in World War I. A few powerful Jews, including the Rothschilds, were responsible for the wording of the treaty imposed on Germany that ended World War I. Yeah, I've told you all of the stories on my website about that. That's reference number 3. The treaty gave the Rothschilds the German-owned railway rights in Palestine. Okay? And what I tried to do at that point was to look for the equivalent in the Argentinian story about Miss Perón and all those railway scenes that are in that movie. So that says La Argentine Nueva, okay? And that is the stories about Perón and Don't Cry For Me Argentina. But there are no trains left in the transcript, because this is the same story as I tell you every time. Yesterday it was about the Scotsman, the man who was with the Irish name Shaughnessy, who became the massive Lord Shaughnessy because of his affiliation to the Royal Canadian Railways that takes all of the troops to their death, and his contribution to World War I. Yeah, that's the Shaughnessy family that used to be my solicitors in the time. That's Thomas the Tank Engine, because all of it on Madonna and the Perón fascism has been taken down from the internet. Try it for yourself. Yes, all of our scenes where she's looking out the window on the train, nothing left on Google Images at all, which had been part of the Turkish Ottoman Empire. So let me take you back to where we left off on this sinister story about all the post-war treaties. The treaty gave the Rothschilds the German-owned railway rights in Palestine, okay? and they're friends of the Turks with the red fez. That's the opposite of the Gallipoli situation. You remember the Turks? Oh no, sorry, that's the same. So the Germans were the commanders-in-chief on the top of the hill. The Turks only had a few troops there on top of the hill, looking down with their Gatling guns on all of those victims from Anzac countries and from Britain, the working men on the River Clyde ship, for a laugh. Yeah, and on the deck chairs on the royal yachts, you have the Germans in the Windsor bloodline sitting and enjoying themselves. They were at that time the Dukes of Cambridge, like the current claimants to the illegitimate throne. Do you remember those stories? And that's Thomas the Tank Engine, launched by the Beatles like the yellow fucking submarine. And yellow is all through the story, and that is the Rothschild's colour. But it varies from time to time, as you'll see. Yeah, and often it is dripping with blood. Right then, so that's which had been part of the Turkish Ottoman Empire, thus paving the way for the Rothschilds, where that railway is going to go, to have a sure leverage to dictate policy concerning Palestine that you might have heard of in terms of partitioning, yeah, and post-war sequelae. That's a posh word, and I intend to use that when I'm courting Miss Hannah. Okay, there's the fez for the Coopers. Not the Coopers of Fife, and yesterday was Burns Day. The Rothschilds had made loans to Turkey which amounted to almost... Remember I told you the story, or that other guy told you the story about Willie Ormond, yeah, way back in the 1960s, when Scotland always used to get to the World Cup finals. He used to earn £4,000 a year in the 1970s. Okay, so the Rothschilds had made loans to Turkey which amounted to almost £100 million when the Turkish government collapsed after World War I. Because they were on the losing side, the Rothschilds had a claim on Palestine because of those unpaid Turkish loans. Sun's coming out outside. The British government followed the dictates of the Rothschilds. The British were given a mandate over Palestine, and the Rothschilds were able to, through their proxies in the British government, to create the steps that led to the nation of Israel. Reference number 5. Okay, and this next bit is from my website, and it says there, 1927, as a result of Germany's offers of peace, the Rothschilds' war machine goes into overdrive in America, yeah, with the trains and Madonna and the perrons spreading propaganda which leads to President Wilson, under the instructions of American Zionist leader and Supreme Court Justice Louis Dembitz Brandeis. That is the launch of the Last Tango in Paris movie, and Brando, yeah, yeah, and the Rothschilds' underlying Jewish conscious plan. Okay, so that's the demonization of German goods in 1917, when the Blackadder team pretend that the only danger to them is not from another academic professor like me, it's the cunning plan to end the war that year in 1917 out of Oxford. Yeah, all of it is led by university leaders. So the man who did the dirty in America is President Wilson. Yeah, he's also the name of Wilson that did the dirty in the Garden of Eden in 1963. Okay, all of it is a joke. And there is Arthur Balfour and Winston Churchill and all of the people that partition Palestine. Okay, and all of that, and they've got the windows on that they still have on every central bank around the world. That's the Ariana Huffington joke and the Aryan master race spider's web. Okay, and when I was a child, Robert the Bruce that was in yesterday's video used to sit in a cave looking depressed like he was when he was talking to his dad in the Braveheart film, and he took solace from watching the spider weaving the web and trying 3 times to get that done. Okay, and that's the £33 million that the cover-up operations have resulted in for that Hoyk family. And I believe I used to work with a man that's on all the ads before all of these videos now in the pharmacy in Hoyk. Yeah, and he's a rugby supporter, and the whole lot of them are traitors to their nation. Yeah, and all of them are Freemasons, like the people right at the top of the chain. That includes Max, yeah, Goldschmidt Rothschild, yeah, and he is the Max in this Swiss joke about the Von Trapp family singers. You remember him? Max Detweiler, the manufacturers of the drones now. Okay, but this one's a goldsmith, yeah, and his last name is Rothschild, and all of that is because the male gender Rothschilds were not able, because of their consanguinity index, to sire the children. So they get a lovely fair maiden, probably a virgin, yeah, from the Goldsmith family. Have you heard that story before about Princess Di and the current incumbents and claimants to the British throne, and who fucked them in the breeding chambers? Yeah, and nobody knows whether that was Princess Di's own decision to get the revenge on Prince Charles and Camilla, who's in this story today too. Yeah, and our brother Mark Shand, and all of the stuff about profiteering for great banks from the World Wildlife Fund, and everything that you're about to learn. Okay, dear Lord Rothschild, that's the partitioning, and that's Arthur James BofA. The Rothschilds, under the execution, and this is the execution of the Russian Tsars by the Bolsheviks, the control of Tsar Nicholas II and his entire family in Russia. So the whole family was killed, and now the family is run by the Romanov that runs Hearts, with the Rothschilds in his middle name, and he's the one that has defrauded that through the Lithuanian Central Bank, which is now owned by the Rothschilds, which is the dismemberment of the whole of Eastern Europe by the people that are run by Lord Kerr of Kinlochar, but we're not allowed to read about that in English. And even the French translation on Wikipedia fails if you try and dissect what's happening with Lord Kerr of Kinlochar in that sector. It's a massive scam. They created it for profit, they've created it for chaos, and so that every sovereign nation all across Europe could be tied to the euro and the financial scams for all of that time. Yet since I was a boy, and Willie Ormond was earning £4,000 a year, which was a small fortune at that time. Okay, the Rothschilds as prophets, and that is the directorate that has Prince Charles, it has the Murdoch family, it has Lord Nathan Charles Jacob Rothschild on the top, interlocking with all the Murdoch families and all the fraudsters, yeah, in the Prince's Trust, and Henry Kissinger. That's the Future of Russia Foundation. It's on the horrible timeline on my web page. Just look up Henry Kissinger. He's all over the crime scene. The Rothschilds as prophets. Okay, they believe money is what makes the world go round. Money is God, and it is worshipped and served. Even after these families accumulate more than can be spent, these devotees continue selling their souls for this false but powerful God. Money is the God of our time, and Rothschild is his prophet. I'd love to make Hannah blush a little bit, because she likes that guy that used to work with Tony Blair. Yeah, and she likes that Dorian Gray fella. I'd love to have a duel with him in single-handed combat. Okay, the Seal of Solomon, the hexagram, the thing with the upstairs, downstairs, heaven, hell, and the four corners, angels' jokes. Okay, and all the Christian lamps at Christmas time. Yeah, all through it. Okay, right then. And because I cannot speak Yiddish or Hebrew, I cannot interpret all those signals, but there is the Rothschild red sign, and that is the Salvation Army red sign. Yeah, I should not tell you the secrets until I win her heart and her mind. Yeah. And I might get my leg over in the course of time, but that is relatively irrelevant. You know that I'm prepared to make a sacrifice for my country, and I'm hoping that some of the Rothschilds will be mature enough now to do that too. I very much doubt it, but I do not stop trying readily. Okay, so the red sign. Amsel Rothschild is reported to have said, "Give me control of the economics of a country, and I care not who makes her laws." Today his descendants met twice daily in London to dictate to the world what the world price of gold will be. Okay, they also dictate what the Federal Reserve System, that's how many central banks they have now. I'm led to believe it's somewhere between 15 and 26 now. Yeah, every country should have one federal bank issuing all of the currency for free for all of the people that now have to fund it by tax paying. Yeah, all of the world has been stolen, and you have to pay for the running of it. All of the people that stole it get free holidays. Every property they get is built free. Everything for them is a gift from the taxpayers. It could be turned on its head, Hannah, my secret lover, yeah, in a few weeks if you were to do the decent thing for all of your neighbours all across the world. It will make you an icon in world history. Okay, today so they dictate the price of gold. They also dictate what the Federal Reserve System will do with America's finances. That family now owns every central bank on the world. Yeah, the New Zealanders who have helped them asset strip the country, that's the people that we've talked about, yeah, that went to Latin America and are educationalists. Yeah, like the Blackpool MP and his wife in Berlin. Yeah, all of them do not understand, or pretend that they do not understand, that that sad bastard there with all that massive salary, and that one there is the one that allowed him and trained him in Basel in Switzerland to be a thief from Canada in the Bank of England at Cheapside. Yeah, all of the directors are scamsters on virtual product frauds. Yeah, that is David Cameron's people at Cairn Energy. Cairn Energy has no energy to sell. It sells coupons and Ponzi schemes, and that is the Prime Minister of our country, 2 regimes back to back. I've been kind to him because he has stopped all of the warmongering policies that the Americans relentlessly engage in. Yeah, that's Bush and Blair. Blair is the biggest genocidal presence in the world with George W. Bush because of the policy making of the people in those corrupted institutions in the heart of London, and he removed all regulation. Yeah, I used to work for his predecessor slaves, that was Eddie George. Yeah, all of his interlocks with the Rothschilds on the stock market, we've exposed them, me and Peter no, it's not Peter Patterson, it's the innocent one, John Patterson. He and I have exposed all of the Rothschilds boardrooms, and you should see what I found today. Yet when you look for Rothschild globally, you get 6,000 hits. When you look for Rothschilds on the British Business Register, you get 600, and some of those are in America already. That's the Paris, Texas film jokes. And the Peter Power jokes about all the investigative journalists thinking that Peter Power is a menace in the 7/7 bombings. All of them just take the attention off the financial criminals, and those are the biggest ones in the world. Yeah, that's the bank in Cheapside. The Americans have 26 of those frauds. Janet Yellen is in the Minnesota one, where you're not allowed to have unions now because of the fascist leadership team. Yeah, and he's a Canadian. He's doing okay as a lumberjack, and all of it is totally pathetic. Yeah, the whole world is so besotted with the ice hockey that even Putin gets let off the hook on that issue. Okay, this is Bernard Bernanke and Yellen. Okay, I've got Bernanke's director numbers, and there's nothing very sinister there, but what he's done is to give all of the wealth personally to all of his family members. Let's take a quick look. Okay, Anna Bernanke, Ben S. Bernanke. Yeah, so he's one of the busy bees that are mentioned even in the, and that's the Columbia jokes about the Freemasons and all of the jokes right back to Solomon's Temple. Bernanke, Seth, Harold Bernanke, Harry Bernanke, and this is funny because this is them bowing their knee to the royal affiliation in the Empire State. That's Will and Harry's Limousine Service Inc., New York, USA. Okay, I hope we've not lost our place on that. So Harold Bernanke, Harry Bernanke, James Bernanke, Mortimer Bernanke, Philip Bernanke, only 10 registered companies. Some of the registrations are quite old, some of them are just in time to crash the banks. Ben Bernanke, when you were in charge of the banks and all of that massive reset that you engaged in on behalf of all of your rate paying and tax paying victims globally. Yeah, and that is the same in Britain. That is the brown man who got his knighthood within a fortnight of me reporting him as the defrauder of all of the big banks. Ewan Brown, Sir Ewan Brown, thanks to HRH now. Okay, let's go back. I did not look for Yellen. She's not very capable in the debating sector even. Okay, oh, look at the sexy pictures of all the folk that we're talking about here. But my heart's on Hannah's mind. Okay? Right then. Free love, that says, and that's the princess, isn't it? And that's an issue, as I remember it, about students and leading union members. That says Joan Collins and Helen Mirren, underwear, and free love, and X-rated, student fees, NUS, Rothschild Bank, Vince Cable, Secretary of State for Scotland, and Burns, wee sleek-it, cowering, timorous beastie. Oh, I remember, that's the head of the National Union of Students, yeah, who's a friend of mine on Facebook until I exposed him as a profiteer, like everyone who's picked as the head of the Students' Union. That's Liam Burns, National Union of Students, presenting his sad story that he does not understand why all of his student colleagues in his regime get robbed of £60,000. And I explained to him every culprit in that scam, which is the X-rated stuff that he's not allowed to talk about because he's on Radio 4 with Jim Nocte, who's the Chancellor at Wallace's Bravehearts University of Stirling. Yeah, the whole lot of the world is riddled with treasonous people. And his dad died the same year as I was exposing all of the frauds against his student colleagues. Yeah, and he tried to use that as telling me that he was being victimised, because so everybody needs to be aware of those acts of God stories. It was Burns Day yesterday. Charlie from Kelso High School, how did things go for you in the lodge? Global Lodge, the massive cabal of treasonous people that dedicate their life to piss artistry and the poetic nature of the history of their country for the profiteers. Okay, so there is Liam Burns, and the names on that listing are quite famous. Telfords, Fletchers, yeah, that's the joke about the Fletchers, that's the butcher joke, yeah. Pierces, that is the presidential wives of the Bushes, okay. The Piso families, the Pierce name, the Pearsons, yeah, the PE teachers at my school. Liam Burns, 2011 to 2013, when they were just racking the fees up from £3 a year to £9 in his regime. He would do nothing about it. I told him all of the culprits, all of their director details, and all of their interlocks with the Rothschilds. I hope Hannah's not listening to this. Right, so, and there's the University of Warwick, you know, that's where all of the heroes, the heroic youngsters, come from. Right, and there's the current one is a Megan, and she's in Aberdeen. She's Dunn's Black, and that is Aberdeen, that run all of the NUS frauds and don't allow the union members, even the postgraduate chemists, none of them get a fucking pay rise. Right then, so let's get back to where we started, or where we left off, when I found Bernanke. Oh, look. Please do not tell Hannah that the Yanks think that some of the family are crooked. Yeah, public morals. You must keep some of those things secrets. That's only for the pillow talk when I get that far. And there's the red shield for the Salvation Army. Did you know that the Rothschilds have a red shield? You must not talk about that either until the time is right. Oh, there's the red shield, and oh, there's the one with the blood on it. Oh, I'm getting very, yeah, every time I think about that woman, yeah, it drives me mad. Oh, and there's the Salvation Army, under the suggestion of the Rothschilds, adopted the red shield. Yeah, that's the Rothred shield for their logo. One history of the Rothschilds remarks, the Rothschilds had rapidly propelled themselves into a position of immense financial power and political influence. They were an independent force in the life of Europe, accountable to no one, and I hope I don't have to be obedient, and to a large extent reliant on no one. Popular lampoons depicted them as the real rulers of Christendom. Yeah, and I don't want to say anything about that in case it's anti-Semitic and we don't get on with the pillow talk. Okay, and this is the front page of the papers yesterday, because they know that I'm going to make this video now. Okay, that's the persons that are let's get to the top in case we miss anything. In the course of world history, I think we were on the Turkish issues and how Germany got brutalised and stung to the tune of £100 million. Yeah, for all of those things that I was just telling you about before we got to Bernanke. Oh, and there's Max Rothschild. He's quite sinister too. Right. These powerful bankers relate to faith in God as Cain related to his brother Abel, who died quite young. Okay, and there's the fiat currency jokes, and there's the all-black winger that got fined for sharing those jokes as a fascist when he was on tour at one of the World Cups in Britain. Okay, and there's Gascoigne as all the covers for Nathan of Gaza. Oh, let's keep it sequenced. Okay, and that's the On the Sabbath joke, the Sabbatine sect and its Frankist spin-offs. The leaders of this up to the Rothschilds were Sabbath Zevi 1626. That's the Sabbath Southern Abba, who is the Father God. Yeah, and it is the Christian cross next, and it's always, yeah, so Sabbath Southern Abba Father God on the cross forever. Yeah, and that is Putnam's Chariots of Fire joke. Isn't it funny? And that's Gascoigne. And this is the earliest members of the Rothschild family. Quite humorous. I'll be able to tell funny stories on the pillow. But I really mean it, Hannah. You can be great, and all of this current generation, when we're not allowed to smack our babies, it's the time to turn it around. I mean that really sincerely. I'm not interested in your sexuality or your sex life or even in your premature aging, if that's correct. I just want you to take the world back to decency and financial competence. It's really simple. Yeah, a simpleton from Scottish borders understands that already. Yeah. Some of the things I dare not reveal. Yeah. Okay. One of the purest form of Satanism can be traced to the Jewish Sabbath. Right, glint blue sky over there. Yeah, and there's Henry Kissinger, and there's the Future of Russia Fund. That's my mate Nat with the body double, who drinks in the Queen's Head that's been closed for a fortnight since I revealed all the scams about the royal claimants and all the aristocrats in Scotland. That's the Bruces and all the folk that are treasonous up here in all the movies that are made, Brian Cox. And that's Jacob, I believe, all of them smiling warmly, but none of them make it up the ladder onto the rich list. That says Lord Nathaniel Charles Jacob, Mr. Timothy William Osborne, who's the Chancellor of the Exchequer, 2 regimes back to back in all the massive frauds. Yeah, and tomorrow I'm on court for bad behaviours, and my wife works for these teams in Intel. She was brought up in Rothschild's Hertfordshire. Yeah, and when I'm free of the marriage, I will have more time to expose them and to litigate against them if they live that long. Yeah, because it's quite scary what the gods are capable of. Yeah, Lord Patton is on the boards of loads of these things. Okay, that's Dr. Henry Alfred Kissinger, Farrer and Company Trust Corporation, Ambassador Arthur Alistair Hartman. Yet that is not Harriman, like Hitler's funders and the Clinton mum. Yet they're elsewhere in the story, but that is the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Yeah, and further down you've got the Murdochs and the B-Sky B people. Yeah, and they're the ones that executed the Russian Tsars, and he's the world's biggest killer, but he gets the Peace Prize like Obama. Re-1918 murder of the Russian Tsar and the family by the Rothschilds, who are now the Rothschilds in the middle name of the Romanov family, and they still have the Tsar at the beginning. So they kill them, and then they take over them, and they take the submarine across as the local hero joke, and they defraud hearts. Yeah, and they're friends of Salmond and Sturgeon, and they're friends of the Sean Connery character who's in the Havens with all of the other people, yet that are the world's heroes because they're in the Fleming frauds. Right then, that's the Bond movies and all the Goldfinger, and that's all the Mellon Bank jokes, and that comes into the story further up. That's the gourd joke is made from melons, and that becomes the water carrier for the Christian missions all around the world. And it's a joke about God as well, and it's in the Pythons comedies, and if it's in the Pythons comedies it's totally immoral. Yeah, and that's how the world is led. Right then, where were we? Oh, there's the whore of London. Yeah, that's the Cockney women. Yeah, that's the Cockney men, and that is London, that I believe is the whore in Revelations. It's an archipelago like Delaware. That's the devil, the Dilla Warren joke about the rabbits, and that is the dragon that this George is going to slay. Okay, and that's the whore of London. And that's the only thing that my wife has raised as a legitimate issue on why I am being divorced. I've accused her of acting like a prostitute. My bed has been empty for 5 years. Yet tomorrow is the final hearing. The whore of London. So that says the whore of London, one believes, has become George's target, pictured below with the Papa Douglases, that's the Pope, and the Douglases that become the beneficiaries of all of those issues of the Earls of Selkirk, and the peerages going to the wrong people for generation after generation. Yeah, and the asset stripping of the Christian churches and the torching of them by Henry once they realise all of the massive money streams. Yeah, and that's the Douglases, that is Sarah Montague, and all of them are the Dukes of Buccleuch, and they soak up all of the former German lands after the Great Conference, and all of the conscience issues do not hit the Windsors straight between the eyes, even now. It's really dangerous for me. The sectioning threat could well be renewed, and I'm getting pain in my arm from the gods to remind me of that. So that's why I'm being loving to Hannah. It's very dangerous to step into their sights. Okay, yeah, and everything goes back to the original sins of the Piso family. Yeah, on the front page of the papers yesterday, you've got the Victor Rothschild covers. That is the still game joke, and this is the piccolo jokes of some of the people that are in another breakaway movement involving the Masons and the papacy. Okay, Alta Vendita, I'd never heard of it until yesterday. And the winds got gusty last night, and it's been quite a piss wet morning all day when the gales are blowing around town again. And there's the Mormons. Every one of the religious movements is on the take. Brigham Young, I remembered the name, but I could not remember the context. They're allowed to have loads of wives, Hannah. Yeah, you can get some of those hockey players from those movies that used to be made about the St. Trinian School, and we could have loads in the bed sharing the pillow talk. Yeah, there are no morals. Tomorrow I'm accused of bad behaviour. They have never defined it. I will never give up access to my home without a massive fight, not a physical fight, a mental and a moral challenge to what the world has now become. Okay, when the Mormon church needed financing in the late 19th century, they went to the Rothschilds' predecessors. Okay, the religious armies are all theirs. Yeah, which is why if I cuddle Hannah, yeah, she'll feel warm and warm-hearted. Don't know if she got that from Mandelson. I'm led to believe that he prefers the peeress from the rear. But all of that is the things that cover up their massive profiteering scams. Yeah, and there's the women and the role in life. That's the man who interlocks with Clinton and Cheney, the Fines is, and that is Helen Hirsch, his pick in the death camps. Yeah, for her sexual favours. She's a Rothschild. Yeah, and that's confirmed further up. Okay. So, Zevi Hirsch, Helen Hirsch, in the death camps, yeah, in the petticoats, getting them stripped off and beaten up by the guy, yeah, who's related to Dick Cheney, who helped Tony Blair and George W. Bush to brutalise the Holy Lands through all of my time in New Zealand. And the Baileys that are in my favourite film are part of the Satanist Act, the treatise on white magic, okay, and there's the red shield for the Salvation Army. Rothschild in German after the red seal of Solomon. Sorry, it's a bit disorderly, but that's what happens when I get romantic, you know. I get stammery like the king does, yeah, in these teams. Okay, and there is the gourd just passing by, and the melon back, and all the jokes about the underworld, and the Goldfinger movies, and the Fort Knox, and all of the scams against the people. Even the gold from their teeth is taken to Geneva, out of the fire pans, and that is the M&M jokes about Miriam, yeah. And further up we get the Ben-Hur jokes about Judaism and all of the songs of Lady Gaga, yeah. So when the devil's advocate mentions, who are you swallowing all those bricks for, Kevin, yeah, when he talks to the world's most successful defence lawyer, yeah, I could not love a man so purely, even prophets forgave his crooked way. I've learned love is like a brick. So who are all those bricks for, Kevin? The joke there is that is the swim with the fishes joke, yeah, for the Godfather. Build a house or sink a dead body, I'll bring him down, bring him down, bring him down. That's the body with the brick hanging off the neck, yeah. Right then, sorry, I'm a bit excited about Hannah's heart and mind. Okay. So I think we got, oh no, we've got the satanic symbols by the presidential relatives still to go. I should not have shown you the Bernanke interlocks. Okay, this is where we got to. That's Bernanke and Janet Yellen. Okay, so we're going to have to tell you some of the stories twice. According to eyewitnesses who were prominent enough to visit one of the British Rothschild homes, the Rothschilds worship yet another god too, that is Satan. Yeah, and I thought that if you turn that around, that you got Natas. What's the joke about turning Satan? Oh no, it's Santa around. If you turn Santa around, what do you get? No, that's not the joke either. Sorry. There's Hillary making the sign of the cloven hoof. Yeah, and there's the one who's in the lovely song by Mozart about the Requiem. Yeah, I play it all the time because I'm going to end this really quickly. Yeah, by reputational methods, not by violence. Yeah, and that one is the Bono. He's the speaker for the American Parliament buildings, and that's the Bono jokes that take you right back into the Piso bloodline, and that's Madonna's first husband. And she's down on her knees in all of those jokes that I explained yesterday, and I've not processed that video yet, and I've got to go to court tomorrow and prove my innocence. Okay, the Rothschilds are an important part of the history of the Seal of Solomon, also known as hexagram, Majan, David, six-pointed star. Star of David. The Seal of Solomon, the hexagram, was not considered a Jewish symbol before the Rothschilds began using it, and then the Salvation Army cottoned on to how successful that technique is. 9. Throughout the Middle Ages, the Seal of Solomon had been used by Arab magicians, Kabbalist magicians, Druid witches, and Satanists. The symbol was on the floor of a 1200-year-old Muslim mosque. Oh no! That's the enemy now, found where Tel Aviv is today. Yeah, that's where the Quran was launched by the people that are the jokes about the Cray twins, the Kreshes. Yeah, it's launched as the Quran with a K, or it's launched as the Quran with a QU, and that's the spellings for the Krays or the Kreshes. Yeah, all the same joke, all the same authors, all of the same methods to spark every great conflict, ethnic accusation, and everything that happened to the Germans and the Turks in World War I. And those are the profiteers. But you must not tell Hannah that. Right. Okay, so 10 of the 12th century. So this is reference 10. In the 12th century, an Ashkenazi Jew, that's across in the Ukrainian region, yeah, where all of the jokes are made about the Nazi diaspora. Yeah, that is the Christmas dream joke for all of the musicians in world history. Yeah, like the Von Trapp family singer jokes. Yeah, that's out of Ukraine. That's the Odessa file. Yeah. Jew Menahem ben Duji, who thought he was the Messiah, used the magical symbol, and this is the Lady Gaga Judas bricks for keeping the bodies deep in the ocean, yeah, once you've dispensed with the innocents. Okay, I've learned love is like a brick. You can build a house or sink a dead body. I'll bring him down, I'll bring him down. And that is the Judas song about the Rothschilds being the Judas. Yeah, and that is the launch of another religion that contests with Christianity. And in the movie Ben-Hur, you've got my favourite actor, yeah, and there it is. Oh, I hope we don't lose our place. Ben-Hur, chariots, and this is the Chariots of Fire joke over time. Okay, that's Charlton Heston, and that's the Judah joke. And when you look at the end of it, that what always, because I'm a sop, yeah, and I get very emotional, but all love issues, yeah, because the sister of this man, yeah, who's an admirer of Jesus Christ and has to row in those nurse-like things, Sally Magnuson, all across into Egypt and become a slave there. When he comes home, his sister Mariam, yeah, that's the Aryan woman with the M and M on each end, to show that that is the joke about the siring of the man who is Arius Calpurnius Piso. Yeah, and the M&M thing becomes the M&M sweeties. They were Smarties when I was a boy. And another one of my one true loves is close to that story too. Okay. So a lot of the secrets are coming out. We can shut that down now because I'm finished with it, and we use it several times in the story I'm telling. Okay, so that's what the bricks are for. Yeah, do you get now? Sleep with the fishes, and the fish is the penis. Yeah, and that's the joke about the Tring place and all of the siring of the European monarchies. Yeah, and there is the Ben-Hur movie, and there's a joke about that, and that is the people Obi-Wan Kenobi and all the Ben characters in that, and untimely Thompson deaths associated with Dougal the Blue Cat. Yeah, and the name Doug is and Douglas is a massive joke, because the Douglases are the people that run the Springwood estate, that run the estates that are given up by the Windsors and the blind Prince George of Cumbria and Teviotdale, and they become the Dukes of Buccleuch. Yeah, there's a massive joke behind that, and it's the Blue Cats and the Blue Peter people, and the people that are the children of the Michael Douglas and his dad Kirk Douglas. Do you get it? Yes, so the Kirk thing is really dangerous. Michael is the Jewish angel, and those are families that are the Zionist Hollywood output, and they are the slaves that die on the crosses in the Spartacus movie. Yeah, both of them are part of the Christianity joke and the fraud about the people that they are allowed to fight in single-handed combat to the death at the end, and the two slaves fight against each other when they're given a sword, and there's only half a dozen Romans policing it. Yeah, the whole thing could have been turned around, but all of it is a joke, because the Jews are in the Roman court writing the Christian Bible and vice versa. That's all the stories, and the whales on the beaches in Scotland are the covers for my Pinocchio revelations, that every step of that way Christianity sparks volcanic actions and earthquakes, and the whale has the Father God in its belly. Geppetto in that movie, okay? And Stromboli is the circus owner, and that's the huge volcano at the foot of Italy. Yeah, and there's Mariam, and it makes me cry even now to think of that woman with the leprosy, with like Braveheart's dad. Yeah, like what's his name? The Bruce. Yeah, King Robert I of Scotland. Yeah, all of the treason through all of their lives and all of the interlocks. And the Commons give me hope, because they were murdered by the Bruces and all the treasonous acts. Okay, so there's the gourd. Yeah, it's taken me a long time to suss it. Comes from the melon. Yeah, becomes the water bottle hanging on every missionary's shoulder. Yeah, with the shell which they use as the currency and to impress the local punters. Yeah, and they give them the baby Jesus in the form of the El Nino dolly, and in return they get all their gold and all their pearls. Yeah, and there is the El Cid character again. I love it. Yeah, every time I watch the clips it makes me feel strong and brave. It's a massive joke. Yeah, it's a massive joke about the people that now run the Lloyd's banking group and have totally asset stripped all of our countries. Yeah, that's Lazarus the leper, like Robert the Bruce's dad in the movie. Yeah, and only He knows his name when he meets him, and he says that only you would confront a king, and that's why we know your name. Yeah, and I intend to get duped by that, but everybody knows who I am now. Yeah, and I'm giving you no tactics for tomorrow's final hearing. Mayor if I live that long, yeah, this is a really dangerous thing to do. Yeah, that's S&M for you, Hannah. Okay, Mayor Bear. Yeah, this is the teddy bear joke that my wife has understood for the whole of her treasonous life, working for these super elite families. Yeah, like the singer of the song in this case. If you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. The teddy bear's picnic is the Rothschilds. Okay, Mayor Bear. Yeah, that's the Rothschild family, like the Hirsch family is the Rothschild family. All of them give themselves biblical names like Solomon, yeah, and Moses. Yeah, and I've told you all of those stories already. And that's the Ralph Fiennes joke, like the In Bruges assassination bureau run by Mrs. Nick Clegg from Portugal. Okay, Mrs. Valerie Jane Lees, every Christmas Eve reading the Teddy Robinson stories to your children. Yeah, and none of it gets explained even to your husband. Yeah, like those Robert Maxwell stories you told me about me behaving like Robert Maxwell. Yeah, everything that Intel is told and is allowed to laugh at about the dismemberment of your own country and your own children's situation in a massive toxic debt pool because of that censored X-rated issue that the head of the Students' Union would not talk about. Yeah. Liam Burns, I don't want you to forget that name. Every one of them is picked, and when my children went to Dundee University, the Students' Loan Company was there, run by the head of the university in Southampton, Glynis Breakwell. Yeah, and all of that has been debated in open meetings, and I have denounced Michael Moore, who was Secretary of State for Scotland, was asked to run the Student Loans Company with Vince Cable, his colleague in the Lib Dems, who also used the yellow colour for Rothschild. And all of them are sacrificial victims. They're quite happy as long as they get their bun. Mayor Ramschel then decided to take the name Red Shield Rothschild in Germany. Treatise on White Magic claims that the hierarchy has a special group which she calls the financial group, controlling all that can be converted into energy scams. Yeah, like every one of the owners of the Bank of England in Cheapside. Cairn Energy, the man who's the Lees, I forget what his boards are, but those are scams run by the Prime Minister. Yeah, with the all the Rothschild scams had Mervyn King, the former governor, on it. It's now the Canadian crime scene. Okay? And here's a group directed in 1836, Zevi Hirsch. Yeah, my name is Helen Hirsch, and I'm a virgin, and we can take the piss out the whole world by allowing it to look as if I'm being persecuted as a Jew. Yeah, when these are launching all the Christian religions, they're launching the Judaism, they're launching the Islamic faiths. Yeah, and that is the Turkish fez that I showed you right at the beginning of the story, and that's the Auf Wiedersehen jokes. Yeah, so Zevi Hirsch Kalischer, and when I saw the next bit, Zevi Hirsch Kalischer, I thought, oh, it's ever so like Wally McAllister, who's now in the banking sector in the north of Wales, where all the paedophilia things are being talked about by all of the investigative journalists, and all of that is just a cover for these massive Rothschild issues. Okay, so he's an orthodox man, and I think this is the one that pretended that he was going to be the Messiah that saved the world. 1705. Yeah, that's 10 years before 1715, and the cull of all of those Catholic favouring Stuart supporters. Does not matter about what religion you are or what denomination, as long as the rich guys get rid of you regularly, You don't have to keep the numbers down like Princess Anne worries about all of the time. Okay? Right then. And there's the Hirsch scene. Yeah? Helen Hirsch, that's me. Yeah, I'm in your family with the Rothschilds, and all of our names are religious jokes. Yeah? Finds interlock with Clinton, Cheney and the Iraq War, and so it's appropriate that the nation carries their magical seal of Solomon as they partition Palestine and create Israel as the state logo. Yeah, and that's the Knesset joke and all the funding they got there. Yeah, and that's the Rothschilds, the Balfours, and that is happens within a couple of years of that massive world war. The city of Rome was originally known as Saturnia, or City of Satan. Saturn, sorry. The Roman Catholic Church retains much of the Saturn worship in its ritual. Saturn also relates to Lucifer, 13. In various occult dictionaries, Saturn is associated with evil. Saturn was important to the religion of the Mithraeum. Yeah, that's the Roman underworld and the launch of the false religion. Yeah, and all of it was done without people, policemen or the Roman soldiers on the street corners, because all of them are having a good time, like the Pompeii movie. And Field McConnell in America understands that, and I've shown you the Mithraea even in rural Northumberland near the Roman wall, and all the jokes about it. Co-masters of the world, connections to Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons and Israel and Judaism. Charles Taze Russell, the head and the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses, sorry to hit on you again for 2 weeks in a row, Jehovah's. Charles T. Russell, in a 1891 letter to Baron Lord Rothschild, mailed from Palestine. Can you see how everything in religion is quite sinister, really? I much prefer to be with the gods on my own. Yeah. And yeah, they are ever so inspirational when you understand how it works. Yeah, in the heavens. And yeah, it's just really amazing how inspiring they can be and how quickly you can learn if you follow their lead. Okay, so Lord Rothschild, mailed from Palestine, outlined possible courses of action that could be taken to establish, that's the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses, who believed, I think, that the world was going to end in 1945. Yeah, and they believe in the Jehovah's Witnesses, of all the slaves continuing as slaves, but the chosen 144,000, I don't think all of them get to heaven, but some of the really superior ones get to heaven. Okay? Russell's letters praised the Rothschilds' money, which established Jewish colonies in Palestine. Yeah, Jehovah's, every week, yeah, you read in your little pamphlet what they want you to know. Russell writes, Rothschild, what is needed here, therefore, next to water and cleanliness, is a good government which will protect the poor from the ravenous and the wealthy. Yeah, and the bosses at the local Jehovah's Witnesses are the Hawkins, and that is the know-nothings joke that I keep telling you every day, and that is the Abel Danger people that laugh at that joke about the brother of the innocent dying young. Banking institutions on sound bases and doing business honourably are also greatly needed. When the Mormon Church needed financing in the late 19th century, they went to Cohen, Loeb and Co. Reference 15. To explain the Rothschilds' control of Kuhn, yeah, can you see how that is the high priests of Israel? That's the Cohens in the course of time, and that's Ali G in today's world. And David Bowie died this week singing about where are we now. He knows that the whole of the New World Order experiment is a total